Welcome to the AVRO Heritage Museum podcast. Our host today is Chris Pleszak from the Talking Newspaper. In this captivating episode of the AVRO Story, he takes us on a journey back to World War II with the legendary Avro Lancaster. We hear the remarkable tales of Sergeant John Monaghan, who recounts his experiences as a radio operator during harrowing missions over Berlin and beyond. As he revisits the cockpit of a Lancaster at the AVRO Heritage Museum, John shares poignant memories of dropping supplies to starving Dutch civilians and repatriating British prisoners of war. Joined by his son Andy, historian Ian Sanders, and aviation blogger Frank Pleszak, this episode is a heartfelt tribute to bravery and resilience in the face of war.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Woodford Story with me, Chris Pleszak. Today we have episode 2, Bomber's Moon. In this episode we focus on the first of 2 iconic aircraft that feature in the Air Heritage Museum, the Avro Lancaster. You may recall meeting in the trailer to this series radio operator and gunner Sergeant John Monaghan, who flew in Lancasters for much of his service career. Under a bomber's moon, he set off on raids to key targets such as Berlin and Berchtesgaden, Hitler's mountain retreat. From his plane, he dropped crates of food and supplies, as well as bars of chocolate, to the starving Dutch population in the spring of 1945. And he flew missions to bring British prisoners of war back to the UK at the end of the war. John made this recording at the museum in 2023 when he was 98 years old. Clambering up into the full-scale replica cockpit of a Lancaster, he found exactly the same layout and all the equipment that would have been there in his flying days. The other voices that you will hear are those of John's son, Andy, Ian Sanders, the museum's oral historian, and Frank Pleszak, aviation blogger and author. As John settled down into the radio operator's seat, exactly as he would have done nearly 80 years earlier, he saw something which triggered an immediate memory. It was the story of how he had acquired his somewhat unusual and perhaps slightly alarming nickname for an airman.
The therapist was here in this storage, and for some reason or other, the pilot must have asked me to fire this, which I did, in the way it went, presume. But because of the insulation in the aircraft, particularly around that storage, it started smouldering and burning smoke. Nothing drastic, but it was enough for the pilot to, we'll get down quick, They call me Flames after that.
So the equipment in front of you there, John, is it all now familiar with you?
Yes, it is. The trailing arrows are. Sure.
It's amazing. It's 80 years ago, and he remembers all the detail of it. So the window to your left there, John, could you see clearly then when you were out? You could actually see clearly through there.
Oh, I could see the wing, the trailing edge of the wing, both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when you were doing this low-level stuff on Operation Manor, you were able to see the Dutch people waving with the flags and everything.
Oh, yes. I will see them through there. Yeah. I think that was a fuse board, lots of fuses. That's where the little thingamajig. Oh, here's a map of it.
Yeah, that's your navigator's position.
Yeah. This is where the flight engineer used to do all his changing tanks, wing tanks.
Oh, and that's where the bomb aimer went down there.
Down there, yeah. Used to fly face down on her. Never had much to do with this end of it at all.
Take you back.
Well, yeah, I suppose it does. That was armour plating.
There.
That was the only bit of armour plating there was, I think.
So sit down, John, and talk us through the radio and what you remember of it and how it worked.
Oh, dear me.
We're not going to test you on this later, so...
Little tuning indicator.
Yeah, I think that flashed green, didn't it?
Green with a... Just to tell you when you were on the right.
So the top is actually the transmitter and the bottom is
that's the transmitter.
And then there is high, medium and low frequencies that you could use. And then you could, was it writing in pencil or Chinograph, the frequencies that you were using in each mission on that card there, and wiping them off afterwards?
Oh, never used that.
Yeah.
No.
How does it feel sitting here after all these years?
I don't know. It's interesting, certainly, yes. But it's doesn't mean anything really to me, no.
But it was such an important part of your life for such a short
Well, I suppose it was, but I wasn't conscious then of it being important at all. Far from it.
Well, you were just a young lad. It was all perhaps good fun. And
well, I thought we were only 19, 20, you know.
Yeah.
Hardly knew that the world existed in those days.
How did you end up with a mainly Canadian crew?
Pure chance, because at one stage of when the training was practically finished, trained aircrew from all over the country, from various training stations, air gunners, wireless operators, pilots, navigators, they were all called together to a place, oddly enough, called, it was RAF Wing, rather odd, really, but that was the name of the station in Oxfordshire, RAF Wing. And we were all brought together there, and there was a huge crowd of aircrew, and they just walked around and picked people out as they felt like it. Purely random picking out of crew members. And I suppose these few Canadians, 5 of them must have somehow picked each other out. Gunner, wireless, bomber, pilot, he was a sergeant in those days. He'd probably picked the bomber out. And then those two would wander around and scout around. Oh, there's a wireless operator, air gunner there, let's have him. And it was pure random selection, you know. They didn't know each other. And then they formed a crew then of 7. And that was it.
And then the other thing, of course, was the little-known Operation Exodus, where you were actually doing repatriation of prisoners of war.
Lancaster brought 20 POW.
Was it quite crowded having 20 prisoners of war on board?
I don't know, because they were all behind me. I don't think so. No.
Right.
How did they seat them? Did they just...
I don't know.
They just bunged them.
I don't know. They must have...
They probably weren't fussed as long as they got home.
I say, perhaps they weren't bothered. They must have just squatted down.
The only comment in the operation...
They were all behind me, I know. There must have been. There was no room up front, but they were all behind.
The only comment in the operations book is that they didn't provide them enough pegs to store the stuff. Didn't mention about the seating or anything like that.
Yeah.
Or onboard catering. It looks so primitive now, doesn't it? You know, with what we have today, but at the time, it must have been...
State of the art.
Yeah, but how heavy it was, and you know the size of everything. It's just incredible.
I remember on the Berchtesgaden trip.
Yeah,
I was the only one of the wireless operators on the squadron that managed to get the wind broadcast. Because the reception was so bad.
Yeah.
But somehow or other, I managed to get it, you know. But we found out afterwards, as I say, I was the only one that had actually
were you in voice communication back to base then through your radio?
Oh, yes, yeah, oh, yeah, indeed. Yeah, that's what all this was for, so we could, transmit to base.
And it wasn't encrypted in any way, it was just open speak. It's incredible, lines.
No, it seems we didn't do an awful lot, really, when you think about it. We were just there in case, I suppose.
Well, you say that, but then, you were winding aerials in, you were releasing stuck bombs, throwing chocolate out the back, you mentioned. That must have been a fantastic sight, though, when you were flying so low over Holland.
Yeah, it was. That was quite a, we flew over. And was seeing this aircraft, this anti-aircraft gun always stuck with me, and the 4 or 5 Germans round it. And there it was, pointing, and
Well, that's incredible, because people talk about, seeing the Dutch, the Dutch civilians cheering and waving. And,
yeah, they were. Oh, yeah.
And yet it's seeing that anti-aircraft gun, which is such an important piece of history that stands out for you. It's incredible, really. So when you actually threw this chocolate out, you had to walk down to the back of the aeroplane.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I suppose it must have been not all that far, is it? Yeah, we threw it. It must have had the door open. Left the door open. Certainly threw chocolate out. I know I remember doing that.
And all the crew did that, did they?
All, as far as I know, all the crew, all the planes that took part, you did that. It wasn't just our crew, I'm sure.
What's your most significant memory of all those flights that you took? Which is the thing that stands out the most? Is it seeing that German flag gun, or is it something else?
I remember the night raids. We were preceded by pathfinders.
Yeah.
And they put down red and green flares. I remember amongst all the burst and bomb bursts, etc., there were these red and green marker flares, that were flashing all the time. We had to bomb on the markers or whatever. Yeah.
And during this raid, I mean, obviously the pilot and the flight engineer, they were doing what they were doing. The bombing was what was the role of the wireless operator during the time you were actually bombing? What would you have been doing?
Nothing.
Enjoying
just
the ride.
looking out through the window, probably. No, I don't remember doing anything. No, as I say, we did very little, really.
Well, that's a bit of an understatement, but...
I mean, on a raid, how many radio communications would you normally have with the base?
Oh, every half hour.
Every half hour?
Yeah. Yes, every half hour.
And what information would you have been sharing?
Winds, weather forecast, with changes of wind, speed, or whatever. For the navigator's point of view, as much as anything, that was what I thought it was for, giving the navigator up-to-date information as far as he could.
What did you do for the loo on one of these planes?
That I don't remember going to. It had an Nelson. Just a can, about halfway down. I never used that. Don't remember using it anyway. Well, I didn't. Sure I didn't. Yes, that was the revision.
Better than a Vulcan, there.
Yeah, they had a little bottle there to use. A little bottle there to use. Yeah.
No, we had a Nelson.
Nothing for number 2, though,
With a bucket, I think, in an emergency.
So what was the, I'm always intrigued by the, you see these sort of movies or film of bombing flights and the flak. I mean, did you used to that you presumably?
Oh, you could see it flat bursting all over the place. Yeah.
How did you feel about what was just?
I don't know. It was just a spectacle.
Difficult was this equipment to use? I mean, it looks awful, but
you've shown how told how I suppose and took it in at that time.
Yeah.
Must have been about 12 months, I think, at radio school. Which was quite a lot, really.
It's as though it's been designed to help because it's got that colour coding on it.
Yeah.
Whereas you don't, I certainly haven't seen that on modern.
No.
Oh, you won't see that. There was a raid there, I remember. Luckily, didn't go on it, but our squadron certainly went on it, remember that. And it was to Nuremberg. That was a nighttime raid. There must have been an awful lot of Lancaster must have taken part in it because the losses on that particular raid were tremendous. I'm not sure, but I think we lost 90 Lancasters. Wow. Not from the squadron, but from the whole operation. That was towards the end of March at Nuremberg, night time, and we were on it. But we went to briefing, of course. We briefed on it. And between the briefing and getting in the aircraft later on, our navigator complained of a migraine. And it was so advanced in the raid that they didn't have time to swap another navigator. He was taken off. And our crew were taken off that, and possibly another crew went on, but we didn't go.
Wow!
Because he was
in the same plane. In your plane?
No,
right.
No. There'd be a plane. There'd be a standby ready. You see, a standby plane and a standby crew for such an eventuality. But as he said, he suffered from this migraine. She may well have done. I'm sure he did. But we didn't go on that raid. And I'm quite glad, because I say that was a horrific night.
Were you aware of the survival rate of
No.
crews?
Don't remember. Saw aircraft hit, exploded, go down. I remember seeing parachutes coming out of another Lanc. Coming out. Yeah, never forget that.
Make sure you follow us in your podcast app to ensure that you don't miss out on future episodes.